Hi everyone, this is Stephanie at Hightower Stitching, and today I'm bringing you a cute quilt that is designed for a child, and it could be a boy, a girl, and you have a lot of choices, but that's what I'm going to share today. It all started with a piece of fabric that I had purchased, and you can look at all the cute figures on there, and they're turned every which way. And I've really sort of saved it. And every once in a while, when I needed a little fussy cut block, I'd take a chunk out of it. And I said, well, I'm ready to make a child's or even a baby quilt, if you would. And you can see I've got my little boxes in there. And I'm going to show you, this is as we get ready to go. And when I start, I looked at my different figures in my material. And I take a piece of the plastic, tracing plastic or pattern plastic you can get at the fabric stores or Walmarts or places like that. And I made a 3.5 inch square, which is the center. And then I mark a little dot where the center is in there. And remember that this has got 1/4 inch of seam allowance around the outside. And then I take that and I go over to my material and I look at for a figure, and then I laid my plastic down. We're doing what's called fussy cutting, if you haven't done that. And then I take and I go around it. Now I used a mechanical pencil, but for it to show up for you, I used a Sharpie. Don't use a Sharpie. I always tell you that. All right, so that gave me one. Then I looked for another one, and there was that cute girl standing there, and I slid it into the place and did the same thing again. And I used that little dot to help me sort of figure out where the center was as I got ready to start. And so I went through and I made a bunch of those. I think I ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 30 of them. But then you could always go back and add some more, because I was short and went and did that. All right, so as we start, we'll get this turned. I started with the 3.5 inch square, which was going to be in the center. And you can see here's that 3.5 inch square. All right, and once I got that cut out, then I moved on and I added a 3. Okay, let me go back step a bit. Everything that I've added, except for the sashing, the pink strips are 1.5 inches wide. Okay, so the first ones that I worked with were ones that I cut 3.5 inches, just like the size of your block. And they're nice little strips. And I would go and I would sew those on. And the nice thing is, if you like chain stitching on your machine, what I did with a lot of them, I would take and sew that one on that side. And then I just turn and cut them apart and then turn it around and go down and put the other one on the other side. So they're on the sides of your block. Okay, that was the second thing after having your block. All right, then the next thing was to do the strips that are on the side, and so the top and the bottom, and they're still that 1.5 inch wide fabric, and it's going to be 5.5 inches long. Now, you can cut it exactly at 5.5. But you can also just leave a little bit, because then you can come back a little bit more, because you can come back and cut it this square to the right size. But you don't need much on there. But that helps you, if it's close to 5.5, to know that your square is nice and squarish. Yeah, that you've got the square going. So that was the third thing. So then I pressed all of those blocks, and you can press some of the seams open if you want to. You can press them all to the one side. It's the way that you like to do it. And if you look, I like to open my seams, so I did that. So then I had this wonderful stack of blocks, and they were ready to go. And I took them in on the floor. And if you have a wall board to put yours on, but I just set mine on the floor and laid them out to get an idea how it was going to look, because this was sort of a grow as you go kind of pattern. Because then I started hunting for the background. I didn't have the color that I was going to use for my sashing, which are these strips in between. And then I had to decide what to do for the posts, which are the pieces that connect those. And so I decided I landed on a nice piece of pink flowered material, a nice big piece of that. And I went ahead and I cut these strips, which were 2.5 by 5.5 inches. And then what I did with those is I went across and connected the boxes by rows going across. So I would have my box, and then I'd have my strip of material added in, and then I added the next one. And there again, you just work down. I worked down one side, and then I added the other block to it, and then I added the next block and grew the row as I was going across. And then you notice there aren't any on the ends of the rows, so you don't need that. You just need the 1, 2, 3, 4 in between if you have 5 blocks. If you have 6 blocks, you're going to have 5 of them. It just depends. All right, so now I've got all my rows sewn, and they're laying there. And I decided that I was going to go back to the pink, and I did 2.5 inch squares. Now this is where it's going to change from the 1.5 inch wide. Everything you've done till now was 1.5 inch wide, until you got to doing your sashing pieces. And here again, I have 5.5 inch sashing pieces that are 2.5 inches wide. Because I wanted to start making my quilt bigger, let it be bigger. And then I also have 2.5 inch squares. And I cut all of those out. And you just need 1, 2, 3, 4 in there for that section. My way of doing it is to take my strip, sew my 2.5 inch block on, then get my next strip and add it on, and then add my next square till I have this whole nice narrow row together. And then I'm ready to add it to a row. So I went and I got the first row, and I went across and I pinned those pieces on. And I'm going to turn it over, and let's go down here to the beginning where I pinned. And you're going to match up that sashing going up and down to your square. Right there's my square. And you can open your seams or turn them to the side. Now, if you turn one set of seams to the right, turn the back to the left, and they'll lock in place. If you open them up, lay them, look at them, and then now what I do is I put a pin right here in the first part, because that's where I'm going to come to, and that's where we'll hold that in place. And the same thing with the second one. And then I go down, I move down, I find the next piece of sashing, I find the next pink block on the back, I match those up, pin them, and keep going to the end. And then when you open it up, it's really amazing if you do that, a little extra work of pinning them before you stitch it, how close you can be on your blocks. If you look at this one, you can see that my corners are really in good shape, even and all the way across there. And that takes care of that, because then you add the next row and the next strip till you get all the way across, and you get them all put on there. And like I said, this one right now with the dimensions we had is 41 inches long and 33.5 inches wide. And where I'm going from here is I've made a bunch of 1.5 inch strips, some more, and I've already sewn those together. And that's going to be my next part that's going to go on there. That's going to be my sashing, my first border, rather. Turn it over. There you go. This is going to be my first border, and it's only 1.5 inches, but the reason is because that's all the material I had left to make it anything long. So that's going to be that one. Well, then that's going to add on 1.5 inches. That's going to add on 1 inch on each side. So that'll get it up to 43 inches wide. So it's getting really nice. And then I've got a nice amount of the flowered material. I'm hoping when I open that big piece up, I'll have enough for the back. And I'm going to check that first. And then whatever I have left, I was going to adjust to put another border on the outside. If I don't have enough for the back, I'll get a different color material. Then I'll have plenty of material to go ahead and cut my border, because I have a nice piece of fabric here to do that with. And what I'll do is, again, like I did the narrow one, I'm going to do both sides first, and then I'm going to sew the other part on the two ends. And I'm going to do that with the wider border that I do. And I'm thinking right now that a 3-inch border would really be nice, because that would be 43 and 6. That's 49, that's 50. And that's one of the nice sizes that I've seen. Well, that would be on the, and then the length would, of course, is longer. So this is Stephanie at Hightower Stitching. I hope you enjoyed that. I have really had a good time making this one. It goes quickly on the sewing machine, and you get something really cute that you can work with. If I have any notes, I'll add those in the description. I'm doing time codes now, if that'll be helpful to you. If this was helpful or fun for you, please subscribe and hit like. Leave comments, like to know that you've been here. Thank you.